Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do another in my Commander deck series videos. Today's featured deck is going to be Arcades the Strategist, which is a tribal wall deck. Before we get started, don't worry those people that tune in for the video game content. I'll be doing some more shortly. My next in video game video is going to be about light gun games, and it just takes a bit more time for me to make these videos as I need to do a bit more research. The Commander ones are fairly straightforward. I can just go through them more or less and film immediately. Okay, so today's video is going to be Arcades. He's this guy. He's the Bant Dragon. He came out in M19, and he basically is a flying vigilance for 1, a green, a blue and a white for a 3/5 flyer. Whenever a creature with defender enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card, and each creature with defender assigns combat damage equal to its toughness and can then attack as long as they didn't have a defender. So basically, before the creatures used to have defender, they used to be called walls, and now basically all of those have been errated to they have defender. So basically what this deck is trying to set up a situation with loads of undercasted creatures that have various big but related to their casting cost, and either being able to set up something so you'll be able to attack with loads of overly sized creatures, or be able to draw into your combo, which is I will explain when I get to it. So we'll start with the multicolored creatures. They're not very many. So we start off with Wall of Denial. This was very played in Standard and various other control-based decks at the time. It's a 0/8 defender with Flying and Shroud, which is basically means your opponents can't target it with spells and abilities. So in this deck, it's effectively an 8/8 Flying Shroud creature with for 3 mana. So the next in the coloured walls is Jungle Barrier. It's 2, a green and a blue for a 2/6. When he ETBs, draw a card. So if you have Arcades in play, which your basic aim is to get in Arcades as soon as possible, you don't even generally want to cast the walls before you start playing things, because you generally use the Arcades unless you're playing a mana dork. You can basically, so this will draw you 2 cards when Arcades is in play. Then we go to the green section of walls. So these are basically, most of them have, you can get various mana accelerators in green, and certain green walls draw extra cards anyway. So we've got Overgrown Battlement. So this is basically one of the best mana dorks in the thing in a moment. There's a one better card or two. So this is a 0/4 defender for 1 and a green. It taps for green for each creature with defender you control. So it basically generates you a lot of mana for what it costs, and it's one of the second best mana dork in the deck. Then we've got the classics. So you've got Wall of Roots. This was played when I started playing. So this is the promo copy. It's a DCI promo. So it's a 0/5 defender for 1 and a green, and you can put a 0/-1 counter on it to add green to your mana pool. You can only play it as a sorcery, but it's a good die. And then you've got Sylvan Caryatid. So this is another hexproof defender, and it can tap for mana of any colour. Really good. And in Vine Trellis, this is the one from Acadian Masks, the original printing. So this is a 0/4 for 1 and green, and tap to add green. Good, not as good as the Caryatid, but you can't play more than one of them. This is the best creature in the deck for thing. You can also generate infinite mana with it. I'll show you later. So it's a 3 mana 0/3 with defender. It can tap for X in any combination of colours, where X is the number of creatures you control with defender. It's the best mana producing thing in the thing, and it's essential for the combo. Then we've got other creatures that draw cards, but these generally require a sacrifice as part of it, but it's like it draws you enough cards. So this is 0/3, and you can sack a creature with defenders to draw a card. Good if your creatures are dying. And we've got Wall of Mulch, which is 1 and a green for a slightly bigger body than the Portcullis Vine. It's slightly bigger and the sacrifice is slightly cheaper, but it requires green mana, so you can sacrifice to draw a card. Then you've got ones that just draw cards anyway, so this is Wall of Blossoms, so it's 0/4 for 1 and a green. ETB, draw a card. Cavern Caryatid, which is a slightly similar thing. This is from original printing. This is a 2/5 for 1 and green and a green. ETB, draw a card. Then we've got more defensive pieces. So we've got a Hornet's Nest is 2 and a green for a 0/2. And whenever he's dealt damage, put that many green 1 insects with flying in defenders. As I said, this is the only thing that generates tokens in the deck. I used to play Tameo, the white Tameo, but I cut it because it didn't do enough. This is Tree of Redemption. I was quite keen on this card. I've got an altered one that's in another deck. It's the biggest thing with toughness with defender in the deck. It's basically a 4 mana 0/13, so it will be a 13/13 in this deck, and it can exchange your life total with the Tree of Redemption's toughness. I used to use it in standard against mono red to basically, it means they had to kill this and being able to deal me another 13 in one go. So now we go on to blue walls. So mostly blue walls are good for defense against flyers. We start with Wall of Air. So this is 1 of blue for a 1/5 defender with flying. Drift of Phantasms. This is quite a versatile one. This is a 2 of blue for a 0/5 defender with fly. It has Transmute, which is discard the card, search your library with the card with the same converted mana cost as this. Reveal and thing, so it can be like used as a tutor. Then we have Fog Bank, which is probably one of the best other walls ever printed. It was good in limited anyway. So it's 1 of blue for a 0/2 flying defender, and it prevents all combat damage that would be dealt to and by it. So it's good. It's basically good for blocking. Then we've got Monastery Flock. It's basically a 2 and a blue for a 0/5 defender with flying. It has morph on it, but you're never going to play it like that in this deck anyway. Gargoyle Missouri, so it's like the smaller thing earlier, but it's slightly better. It's a 1/3 defender with fly. It's prevent all the combat damage that would be dealt to it, where it still deals the damage. And we have Hover Barrier, which is a 0/6 defender with flying, just quite large. The pattern on it is nice. I like it. We've got Wall of Runes, which is he scries, so he's basically, with Arcades in play, he'll basically scry a card and draw another card. Wall of Frost, so this is an 0/7 for 1 and a blue. He basically ices something down and prevents the creature from untapping during their next controller's untap step. I have Doorkeeper. So he mills players. He's a 1 and a blue for a 0/4 defender. A 2 and a blue, target player puts the top X cards into the graveyard, where X is the number of creatures with defender you control. You can use him to mill someone. You can also do it on yourself if you have certain cards in play, as you have a Laboratory Maniac in your deck, so you can use it as a win condition. If you think people have graveyard synergies, you just don't play it. It's just a cheap guy. And then you have Wall of Stolen Identities. This was from the Commander set, so I think it was 19. This is basically a clone or attached to a wall. It's good outside of a wall deck. It basically becomes a copy of target creature on the battlefield, except it's a wall in addition. And when you tap the copy, you tap the copied creature, and it doesn't untap during the untap step as long as you control a Wall of Stolen Identity. So he's quite versatile. And we go to white. We go to Orator of Ojutai. I said this basically draws you multiple cards if you reveal a dragon, so you can reveal Arcades from your command zone normally too, and that will be enough to draw it 2 cards. Wall of Omen, it just is a 1 and a white for a 0/4 wall. This was sees play outside other formats as well, and it's just very good. White walls also gain you life, so this is the first of the cycle on this. So this is a Wall of Essence. This also has, when it is dealt combat damage, you gain that much life on a 0/4 body, so it's effectively would be a 4/4 body. More life gain walls. This is Wall of Reverence. It's a 1/6 fly defender and flying. At the end of turn, you may gain life equal to the power of creature you control. So generally, it's probably only going to gain you 3 or 4, because the biggest thing with power in the deck is normally Arcades. Then we go Angelic Wall. It's just a 0/4 flying defender for 1 and a white. There we go, so the older walls. So this is a more defensive tool. This is Wall of Glare. It can block any number of creatures in the combat. Quite versatile, and it says 0/5. Then we go for Mana Exhale on the wall. So this is Sunscape Familiar. So this is 0/3 from a thing. It's from Plane Shift. So it basically it accelerates your green and blue spells. They cost 1 and a less, 1 colourless less. Then we've got some of the creatures that buff other things. So we've got Stalwart Shield Bearers. This is a foil copy. So this means your other creatures basically in the deck, as long as they have Defender, are +0/+2. So they've got an extra 2 toughness, which is nearly everything. And then we've got, because the deck, you also need other ways to attack if you don't have Arcades or can't cast out Arcades, or he's been stolen or something. You need other ways to be able to attack. So this is one of those other alternate attack conditions. So this is Wakestone Gargoyle. This is a 3 and a white for a 3/4 defender with flying, but enables you to attack with your other creatures with a defender by paying 1 and a white, so they can attack without defender. So it's Rolling Stone on a flying body. Then we go to the artifact walls. There are some. As I said before I start, this would probably be a shield sphere, but I don't have a shield sphere. They're just hard to find. So this would probably be a shield sphere, which is effectively a 0 casting version of this kind of card. So this is basically a 0/4 wall. It's just an artifact. It cost me 1. I'd play shield sphere if I had it. If you have it, play it. Now we've got a hate thing. So Crashing Drawbridge. This is from Eldraine. So this is a 0/4 defender for 2 mana. It enables you to tap it to give your creatures haste until the end of the turn, which you basically can use to get, if you can go off and you can do the combo in the deck, you can draw your entire deck anyway. So you can use this to give all your creatures haste if you had it out prior to that turn. If you don't have the Concordant Crossroads, and say I've got Concordant Crossroads in here as well for another way to give your creatures haste. I mean, you've got Suspicious Bookcase. This is a 0/4 defender from the core set of the year, so it's from M19. It enables you to make target creature can't be blocked this turn. It's generally done on your commander, but you can do it on other things if you want. It's quite versatile. Then we go Wall of Junk. This is a 0/7. This is from Saga. So this basically reads, whenever Wall of Junk blocks, return it to your hand at the end of combat. So basically you use it as a block and then you can recast it next turn. With Arcades in play, you can basically use it to draw another card. So it's quite versatile. Then we go to Junk Trawler. So this is basically either it can be used as Graveyard Hate or recursion tool to put things on the bottom of your library. It's a 4 mana artifact. It's a golem as well. It's a 0/6 defender, and it puts taps to put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of owner's library. So it's versatile. Then we go to ways to win the game. So we've got Tetsu Umezawa's Fugitive, so Tetsuku. So it basically enables your creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. Since most of the creatures in the deck don't have power, they basically read as they're essentially unblockable, and you can usually use it when you've got another pump anthem or something to kill people all in one turn. Then we have a win condition. So Laboratory Maniac, this will be explained later. It basically enables you, once you've drawn your deck, to win the game. Then we have Dramoka. This is also it's my favorite dragon printed. It's very good. It's green for a green and a white on a legendary elder dragon for a 5/7. He can't be countered. It has flying lifelink and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. So it basically means your opponent can't use counter spells or various instant speed board wipes when you go off. So if you draw your deck, you can play it, and they essentially can't do much other than casting a delay effect on it. Then we've got Avacyn. This is a proxy version. How I proxy my cards is I don't normally proxy cards I don't have. I normally just use it to get more copies of what I have. So I photocopy the card with the printer and then print it off and stick it on the card back. And then I basically have another copy, so I can then if I want to play in a tournament, I can just move the thing around. So Avacyn, as you all know, I'm sure, is an 8 mana for 5 white. For an 8/8 flying vigilance and indestructible, it gives all your other permanents indestructible. It's because the deck is prone to having the board wiped, and lots of other creature-based decks are, so this is one of the best ways you can protect it. Then we go to Boardwipes. Now, say in this kind of deck, you're normally you don't want to use most of the traditional board wipes, so like Wrath of God and Day of Judgment, because they wipe out most of your side of the board as well as your opponent's. Whereas say that there's plenty of board wipes that will only wipe your opponent's side of the board. For instance, this is Dusk Till Dawn. So this so for instance, this has two sides basically. So the first portion of the card is Dusk, so it destroys all creatures with power 3 or greater. Then basically Aftermath reads as you can play this from the graveyard. So then for 3 a white and a white, you can return all creatures with power 2 or less from the graveyard to your hand. So that will basically get back nearly everything in the deck. So it's basically a Wrath and Recursion on the same thing. Very versatile, one of the best board wipes for this deck. Then you have more board wipes. You've got Slaughter the Strong. So this is 1 a white, and it's from the dinosaur set. And each player chooses any number of creatures you control with total 4 power less than sack all other creatures. So you keep Arcades. Your walls basically won't attribute to this value, so basically they lose more or less their entire board, where you keep nearly everything. Then we have Fell the Mighty. It's a 4 and a white to destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. So you can basically use this to on one of your walls to destroy everything with like 0 or higher power. So it basically, you keep nearly your entire board. They get rid of everything. Then we have like more versatile cards. So this is Cleansing Nova. This is from M19. So this is basically like a worse version of Austere Command, but you can play Austere Command as well. So this is like choose a mode, and it's either destroy all creatures or destroy artifacts and enchantments. Generally, this is used to cleanse the board of artifacts, mainly. Then we have Austere Command. This is basically a very versatile card. It basically can destroy artifacts, enchantments, and you can use it to destroy creatures if you need to. 3 or less or 4 or greater CMC. Then we've got Fraction Gusp. This is like artifact and enchantment removal. You can also use it to gain life. It gains you 2 life for each permanent destroyed this way. And then there's more spells. So this is like a Haymaker card. To say normally I'm not a fan of pump spells outside things like Triumph of the Horde or overrun type effects, but in this deck this is pretty good, and this is the best one you can get of this kind of effect. There are more types of this kind of effect for like +1, +4 and various things. I think that's a white card. So this is tower defense, so this gives your creatures +0/+5 and they gain reach, which is key if you're being attacked by a load of flyers and you don't have the requisite to block. But this is just like a haymaker card. Normally this does like 50+ damage on just this card. Then you have the ubiquitous Cyclonic Rift. It should see play in nearly every blue commander deck. I don't play it in ZU, but other than that I play it in nearly every one. And then more protection. So we have these, the 3 series that came from the commander deck. Most of them are quite expensive. Now this isn't as bad as the blue one, but like this is if you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying the mana cost. This is creatures you control indestructible. If not, it's a 2 white for the same thing. Very good. Then you have a Chroma's Will. So this is like another haymaker card. So if you control your commander, you may choose both. So this is 3 and a white. So it's creatures you control have flying, vigilance and double strike, and creatures you control lifelink, indestructible and protection from all colours. It's generally done on to give your creatures indestructible, but if someone tries to kill your key piece when you try to go off, this will basically enable you to basically survive and generally kill everyone. Then we have Make a Stand. This is basically creatures you control +1/+0 and indestructible. I've wrote it as +0/+1 and indestructible, but like it's what it is. It's another way to make them indestructible. There's nothing better that I can find. Then you have a Heroic Intervention. This is essential in nearly all green-based, generally creature-based decks. It's your permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn for 1 and a green. It was reprinted in one of the core sets recently. It's fairly cheap at the moment. It's a good pickup. It will be good. Then we're also looking for more enchantments. So now we have ways to stop your opponents. So this is Crackdown from 2 and a white. Has anyone also played Crackdown on the Xbox? That's a series of things that say that they haven't done one for years. They were free games. Anyway, we're off on the tangent. So this is non-white creatures with power 3 or greater don't untap during their untap step. So it means they basically have to one-shot you basically or get rid of this. And most of your white creatures are fine. Then we have life gain, so we've got Angelic Chorus. This is 3, a white and a white for an enchantment. This is the one from 10th edition. And it's whenever a creature comes into play under your control, you gain life equal to its toughness. So most of your creatures have higher toughness than power, so this will gain you a fair chunk of life. Then we have another thing we need to attack. This is High Alert. It's 1 a blue and a white for an enchantment, so it's each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than power, and it enables your creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender. It also has another mode which is 2 a blue and a white to untap target creature, which is also good on the mana dorks if they're making more than the requisite mana. Then we have Assault Formation. So this is the reprint from Iconic Masters. There's also an earlier printing that has came out, and it's basically a 1 and a green for an enchantment. For each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to toughness rather than power. It enables creatures with defender for a green to attack as though they didn't have defender, and it's also an anthem effect, so it's 2 and a green for creatures you control get +0/+1 until the end of the turn. Then we have Concordant Crossroads. So this is for those people that don't know about Enchant Worlds. They basically came out early in the lifespan of the game. They originally came from Legends, the set, and it was reprinted. This one was reprinted in Chronicles. So basically, an Enchant World is like a global enchantment where only one Enchant World can be on the battlefield at a time. So if in a second Enchant World comes into play, the first one is removed from play, so it basically goes into the graveyard, or buried as they used to call it. So this one is a global enchantment basically, so it means creatures can attack or use abilities that include tap to come into play the turn they come into play. So it basically gives all your creatures essentially haste. I've got a real one. It's in my other deck. It's in my Feldgriff deck, I believe, so this one's a proxy. Then we have Freed from the Real. So this is a 2 blue enchantment on an aura to basically give enchanted creature blue tap target enchanted creature or blue untap target enchanted creature. It's done on the mana dork. The defender Axebane Guardian generally it will generate infinite mana because you can basically float a load of mana, use blue to untap it, and then untap it and do the same thing again. So that will generate infinite mana. And when you have another card in play called Cloudstone Curio, you can generally win the game by generating infinite mana and drawing infinite cards. Then we have protection for these is generally only cast on Arcades or the mana dork when the turn you're going to go off. So you've got Swiftfoot Boots. It's the classic. So it's equipped creature has hexproof and haste, on a 2 mana artifact, and 1 mana to equip. Then you have the other classic one. So you have Lightning Greaves. So this is equipped creature has haste and shroud. For 0 casting cost equip. Easy to cast. Then we have the 1 mana accelerator I play, which is Soul Ring. You don't need other mana accelerators in this deck other than the ones that are on bodies, because I don't think they do enough. All the mana dorks actually will draw cards, and the other mana ramp won't do much in this. You don't even need a lot of mana. You generally can go off with 4 or 5 mana. Then we go Cloudstone Curio. So this is quintessentially is a combo piece. This is a 3 mana artifact. See, it reads, whenever a non-artifact permanent comes into play under your control, you may turn another permanent you control that shares a permanent type with the thing. It's generally used to bounce your walls for value outside the combo. If you have Axebane Guardian on the thing with Freed from the Real on it, you can use it to generate. You use the Guardian to generate infinite mana, and then basically you play a wall. You bounce one of your other walls. You can then pick up the wall, keep replaying said wall, and draw your library with Arcades. Then you will eventually hit Dramoka. So eventually cast Dramoka. Your opponent can't counter the spell, so they won't be able to do anything. And then you can basically draw your entire library and play Laboratory Maniac to win you the game. I have not done it yet, but I will hopefully do it at some point. Most of my recent wins have come from damage. I'm going to say I've been playing this deck since 2019. So this was one of my last decks pre-lockdowns, and it's been doing quite well ever since. Most of the additions recently, I'll put the link to my decks on Moxfield in the description. And like Adam, if you're watching, I've seen your deck as well, and I know will have other different cards in it as well, and I would like to see yours a bit more. Right, so now we go on to the land. It's the usual thing I say with the land is, if you have the dual lands, play them. If you have the come into play tap lands, if not, just try and make sure that you have the requisite not as many come into play tap lands as possible, because the difference between the land coming into play tapped is the thing. It's normally better just to play not come into play untapped land. Okay, so we go on to the first section we start with is blue-white jewels. We have Glacial Fortress, that's the buddy land. This is the excellent printing of that. And we go Temple of Enlightenment. I like the temples. There are lots of printings now, and they're relatively cheap. They're generally come into play is reasonably a thing, because you get to scry 1, and it's like if the land doesn't come into play, if the land comes into play tapped and doesn't have a relative ability, you probably don't want to play it. Got a Flooded Strand. I mean, these are proxies. I've already got set in other decks. So this is the original one, Satland, enough said. Adakar Waste, Painland, enough said. Hallowed Fountain, Shockland, Bicycle Land, Farmland. I'm not sure on these if I play them or not. I mean, this should probably be a Tundra, but I don't have one. I've got the other jewels in the deck. Don't have a Tundra. Green-blue now. So we've got Breeding Pool, Hinterland Harbour, Temple of Mystery, Yavimaya Coast. That's the Apocalypse printing. Misty Rainforest, Tropical Island. Yeah, my actual Tropical Island's got one of them's got this AB on the bottom. It was probably used in a tournament, so it's got like the thing. But other than that, it's mint condition. Now we go on to green-white lands. Scattered Grove, like the Bicycle Land. Temple Garden, Shockland. Savannah, Windswept Heath, Sunpetal Grove, Temple of Plenty, Brushland. Now we go Trilands. So we've got Command Tower. And go Seaside Citadel. So eventually this might not be in the deck anymore. So it turns out the pre-release is coming up for the new set. So it turns out the gang land, the gangland, whatever it's going to be called, will probably be going into this deck. It may replace this land, I'm not sure. And since the deck draws lots of cards, I play Command Tower. You have no maximum hand size. Whether this needs to be in there or not, I don't know. But like, you can normally afford to discard your best card, but like, it's one utility land. Now we go on to the basic islands. There are 4 of these. These are the standard Showdown printings. I think they were excellent ones, so they're from 2018. There's 4 islands. And we go the same printing of these ones. So they're forests, they're 1. Again, there are 4 of those. And we have plains, we have five of those plains. And for the last basic, we have this one. It's a Zendikar one, so we've got 6 planes total. This is the, I think one of the remaining ones. I have this and I couldn't find the matching lands to go. So that's 6 planes total. So that's all of the Arcades deck. I say I'll keep on making these as I get around to it. And say I'll link all my decks on Moxfield. I've put in, well, like 4 at the moment. I'll just be updating them constantly, so we'll keep you posted. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. As I say, I need a thousand subs before YouTube stop paying out. Anyway, thanks very much. See you soon. Bye.